Perhaps the most famous of all salmon flies is the Sunray Shadow, which was originated by an English gentleman named Ray Brooks, who held a lease for many, many years on the Laerdal River in Norway. The fly is actually named from a small lodge he had there, riverside, that was called Sunray Lodge. So that's why the fly ended up being called the Sunray Shadow. Ray Brooks was very particular about how he wanted these flies tied. There is a rumor that he actually held a patent on them. I've never been able to verify that. But what I do know is that they were produced for commercial sales, and they were actually tied here in Denmark by a small company called KE Fluer. The original, Ray used brown squirrel for the underwing. He used peacock for a little bit of flash between the two wings. And the overwing on the original was monkey, which is of course not possible to get anymore. So on this one I've used goat. If you look for long enough, you can really find very good quality goat. This one certainly wouldn't have passed Ray Brooks's inspection, because rumor also has it that he wanted his flies to be exactly 13.5 centimeters long. I've never really been able to verify that either. But if one ever was to play that one fly for the whole season game, I think a lot of salmon fishers would choose the Sunray Shadow. At least I think I would too. I've written a blog about the Sunray Shadow and its history, and you can find the link here in the description below. I had the pleasure of interviewing Ray Brooks's widow, Margit, who's also Danish, but you can read a lot more about that in the blog. Let me show you how to tie this very, very simple and very, very effective salmon fly. We have the Flexitubes in the Pro Sportfisher system. When I tie on those, there's always some cutoff. There is the thin part on the front, which I use for very small tube flies. I simply save the parts I cut off instead of throwing them out. And here's a part of the thick part that I've cut off. I've kept it. So this is what I'm going to tie my Sunray Shadow on. You'll have to use the predator needle in order to catch this thicker part of the tube securely. This one I've cut down a little bit just to make it easier to go around. All right, tube is secured. I just use a normal black tying thread, which I attach right here at the front of the tube. Not too close to the front, but it doesn't have any body, and of course I won't be putting on a cone head either. Rather than using squirrel for the underwing and monkey for the overwing, I think most people today tie them with Polarbear for the underwing and of course goat for the overwing. I really like to use Polarbear. This is a piece from an old vintage skin. So I cut out a small bunch, not too much. You really want to keep it fairly sparse, even though the historic samples of the Sunray Shadow that I've seen are really not particularly sparse. Comb out the underfur, leaving just the guard hairs. I usually induce a little bit of a taper, and I tie that so it's a good bit longer than the tube itself. Secure that. And I use quite a lot of turns here to make sure that it stays on. This is stiff and slippery hair. So I just come in with the very point of my scissors to clean that up. Now, this would probably have Ray Brooks turning in his grave, but I use a piece of flashabou, or who knows, maybe Ray would have been the first to use these modern materials. Actually, I think he would. Even though, as his widow described to me, he usually arrived at the river in an old Jaguar with 2 17-foot split cane rods on the roof, so maybe he was a bit of a traditionalist after all. Anyway, 2 strands of flash. And this is, as I said, this is goat. This is very fine quality. And when you stumble upon this fine quality goat, stock up, because it's not always easy to find. I just check to see if I have a suitable amount. I think that's all right. Cut it off. And once again, you can see there's a lot of underfur in this actually. Comb that out. Just leave the natural taper for the wing. And now this is where Ray Brooks apparently would have insisted on 13.5 centimeters. I think this is suitable compared to the length of the underwing, maybe a little bit longer. And of course, you can tie these in very small sizes. You can tie them very big. You can fish them as they are. You can even put a small hole in the tube and fish them as hitch flies. I have a couple of friends who do that with great success. Even if it's a huge hitch fly compared to what you'd normally use, it works well. All right, sits well. Give it a 3 or 4 good turns so it stays on there. This is also a stiff and slippery material. Well, it's not stiff really, but it's very slippery. That's it. Before I form the head, I take a small drop of varnish. You could use super glue, but I like varnish because it doesn't harden and create those glass sharp edges that super glue has a tendency to do. So all that's left now is to form a head. I climb down onto the tube and just work my way back up, covering the butt ends of the goat, and a quick 3-turn whip finish. Tighten up, and that's really the tying done. All that remains is to varnish the head. Once again, you could use super glue or UV resin, whatever you prefer. Varnish is cheap and fast. Just take care that it doesn't run into the wing. That's it. If you're in a hurry, heading to Norway tomorrow and don't have enough salmon flies, 10 of these doesn't take you long to make, and it is a very effective fly. Have fun with it, and thanks for watching.